Hello and welcome to my review of the World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut for Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop. And one of these models will cost you £40, or he is included in the World Eaters Combat Patrol, which is a very popular combat patrol, and you're lucky if you can find it in stock. Now, if this review is giving you a feeling of deja vu, that is because I have already reviewed the Lord Invocatus. Now, the Lord Invocatus box set is a dual build. You can either build the Lord Invocatus or you can build this World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut. It's up to you. You can't build both. If you're handy with magnets, you could potentially build both, but the Juggernaut itself is a fair bit different for both the models. However, I have been told that the old, like Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Juggernauts, if you've got any of those lying around that don't have any riders, then you can just put one of those two World Eaters models onto an old Juggernaut. Format of this video, as usual, I'll be taking a look at the model, looking at all the detail, then I'll go through all the spare parts, of which there is a huge amount. Then I'll go through some size comparisons, and finally I'll go through all of the rules for the World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut and definitely compare him to the Lord Invocatus, which one you should go for. First things first, I will say, you can get this model separately, but he will cost you £40, or you can go for the Combat Patrol right there on the left, which will set you back £95. So yes, for £55 you're getting 2 units of 10 Khorne Berserkers, which are normally £40 each, so that's 80. Already we're at 120, and then a box of £37 Jackals. So let's just round that up to another 40. So £160 worth of World Eaters there for 95, which is pretty good. So you can see why it was snapped up so quick, especially if you're able to get like an £18 discount or so, snapping it up for about £76. So this World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut right here, fantastic mini. You've got multiple options as well. The mount itself has different kind of head weapon options. You can have a blade, or you can have this spiked piece, which is what I've gone for. I've got a plasma pistol there. I haven't drilled out the barrel, you'll probably notice that, but you don't have to have him holding a plasma pistol. You can have him holding onto the mount. The chainsword, again, you can have him with a chainsword, a chain axe, or holding onto the mount. The head, you can have this helmeted version or unhelmed, and that's about it. We'll compare him to the Invocatus in a moment, but in terms of this to build, very straightforward, quite quick to build. There are a few mould lines in places on the weapons and the join of the actual Juggernaut, but apart from that, lovely kit to build, quite a big mini, a lot of presents. This is the kind of dual kit that I'm very fond of, or have grown very fond of, especially with the Lumineth and the recent Slaves of Darkness, with Eternus, Blade of the First Prince, although I'd much prefer all of these kind of dual kits to be about £32.50, maybe at a push £35. They are creeping steadily up to 40. Now you've got one that is £40, which is quite a bit. So that's the model. Let's have a look at the spare parts. Right here, there's a huge number of spare parts. Just to put it in perspective, this is the number of World Eaters Khorne Berserker spare parts right there on the right. Well, that's actually a Jackal spare base, but as you can see, there are more spare parts for the Lord Invocatus or Lord on Juggernaut than there are for a 10-man Khorne Berserker box set, and I think that is quite criminal. Right here, you've got the different legs, and yes, it does have 4 completely different legs. This is what you're paying the £40 for, is, the variety, really. I'm not sure whether you could use those, put them on a base, you've got the different head And yes, again, it is a completely full separate head with a blade on there. You've got the separate head for the Invocatus. Might have got those wrong way around. There you go. So that's the Invocatus head. You've got a different collar. You've got the unhelmed head. You've got the very cool different power plant, different head for the Invocatus. Maybe you could use it on a different model, but people would notice. You've got a massive tactical cliff face rock. You could put a bit of green stuff in there and actually use this on any model really, if you wanted a bit of a scenic base going on. So that's quite a useful thing. You've got some fibre bundles for the legs. You've got the different weapons. So you've got the Lord Invocatus's chain axe, and then this different option. The reason why I didn't go for the chain axe, which is quite, you know, ubiquitous for World Eaters, is because it was at a strange angle. He was holding it like that, and I wanted I preferred the angle of the chain sword rather than that chain axe. You've got the different legs for the Invocatus. You've actually got a different top plate for the head of the mount. You've got different shoulder pads that are for the Invocatus as well. You've got another different head sort of piece. You've got different torso for the Invocatus, different legs, different arms, different accessories like this bolt pistol and skulls, more shoulder pauldrons. So yeah, a huge number of spare parts there. Overall, this kit comprises of 66 plastic components, which isn't quite as many as Eternus at 71. Eternus has, you know, 5 more pieces, but still a decent number of spare parts, and a few of them you could actually use as well, especially like the chain axes and the shoulder pauldrons, the heads, and that scenic base kind of tactical rock. So size comparisons then. First of all, I'd like to compare him to models in the box set. So of course I do have a Khorne Berserker, very cool looking. That's where he measures with one of those. He is essentially Khorne Berserker in size, but just on a mount. He does tower above them. He's on one of these big mount bases. He's gonna, you know, draw a fair amount of attention. We've also got a Jackal, which is kind of like the Khorne cultist in a way. That's where he stands near them. He's going to really tower above those. Also, I have from another set the 8-bound right here. 8-bound are ginormous, kind of like Terminator sized. They barely go up to the top of his mount there, but very large. I have the Invocatus himself, same size base of course. He is way taller, way bigger, just because of the pose and things, but yeah, if you wanted to see them both compared, the Invocatus definitely has way more presence and is taller, and yeah, I would probably say it's a tough choice between both of them, because I like the old plasma pistol and the chainsword, but something about the Invocatus there with that Juggernaut running it the way it is, and something about how both of the feet are off the ground for the Invocatus. I'd probably say Invocatus is my favourite out of the two, but it's very close, like a lot of the dual kits that they've recently brought out. So that's where they stand next to each other, and then I have, of course, Angron. Just move the camera up a little bit. That's where Angron sort of sits. The Invocatus is, you know, about face level, whereas the Lord on Juggernaut barely comes up to the skulls around Angron's neck. So yeah, that just gives you an idea if you had all of those models or you're planning to get them. Compared to other Chaos minis, I've got an Obliterator and then a Possessed, as well as a Cultist. So it just gives you an idea of how big he is compared to like an Obliterator if you had a few Obliterators around. And the final comparisons I always like to make is just with some Imperial models. So we have a Legacy Space Marine, Sly Marbo and a Primaris. So a fair bit bigger than a Legacy Space Marine, and yeah, much taller than a Primaris even. So if you're going up against Primaris, he's going to stand quite high. Will probably be one of the larger HQs, you know, Primarchs notwithstanding. And okay, so you've reached my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the World Eaters Chaos Lord on Juggernaut. You'll of course find him in your HQ section of your World Eaters Codex. He's quite far near the back of the HQ section. You know, Angron, Khan, Lord Invocatus and the Demon Prince all come before him. But when you do find him, he will cost you a power points cost of a 6 and a points cost of 125 points. To put it in perspective, that means that he's 5 points cheaper than a Demon Prince, but you may want to take wings for that Demon Prince. Compared to the Lord Invocatus is 160 points and Khan the Betrayer is 140, so Khan is 15 points more expensive. His stat line reads, he's a movement speed of 10 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill both 2+, strength 6, toughness 6, 8 wounds, 7 attacks, leadership 9 and a save of 3+. Would have been great if his save was 2+, but all of the other stats are incredible. You know, compared to the Lord Invocatus. Lord Invocatus is a little bit faster, 12 inches, but he has the same number of wounds, the same number of attacks, just doesn't have that 2+ that the Invocatus does. A World Eater's Lord on Juggernaut is equipped with a plasma pistol, exalted chain blade, Juggernaut's bladed horn, frag grenades and crack grenades. So plasma pistol, nothing really. So plasma pistol works as usual. It has 2 firing profiles, the standard or the supercharged. So the standard is a 12-inch pistol 1, strength 7, AP -3, damage 1, and the supercharge is a strength 8, AP -3, damage 2. But if any unmodified hit rolls of a 1 are made for attacks with this weapon profile, the bearer is destroyed after shooting with this weapon. I don't think it's worth, you know, supercharging that. For the extra strength and the extra 1 damage, the bearer is destroyed. It's not like the mount carries on, you know, riding or anything. The mount is destroyed too. You can't have a mount just riding around by itself. That would have been awesome, but it's not the case, and you've just wiped out 8 wounds of yourself. You know, if you're playing like a 1,000 or even a 1,200 point game, that's 10% of your army just wiped out because you rolled a 1. The Exalted Chain Blade is a strength of the user, which is 6, not too shabby. AP -2, damage 2. Nothing really special about that. Yeah, it's great that he's got 7 attacks with it though. Juggernaut's Bladed Horn, strength of the user, which would be 6 again. AP -2, damage 1. But each time a bearer fights, it makes 3 additional attacks with this weapon. So that's quite good. You know, you've got 7 attacks normally, and then 3 with the Juggernaut. Abilities, the Blood Tithe, and then Sigil of Corruption. The model has a 4+ invulnerable save. And then Leading the Charge, Aura. While a friendly World Eater's core unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time that unit is selected to make a normal move or advance until the end of the phase, add 2 inches to the move characteristic of models in that unit. That's pretty nice. You know, the only downside obviously is its movement of 10 inches. So you're going to have to be within 6 inches of like Khorne Berserkers or anything else really, but having Khorne Berserkers move 8 inches is very, very scary. You know, he doesn't have to roll or anything for that. It's just a straight up buff as long as he's within 6 inches of them. Keywords, Chaos, Khorne, Heretic Astartes, Butcher Astartes, World Eaters, Cavalry, Character, Demon, World Eaters Lord. So there you go. Nothing particularly special. He's got a plasma pistol, which is only 12 inches, so he's, you know, effective range of 22 inches. His chain blade is all right. You know, again, nothing special. The thing you got to watch out for is he's pretty tough. He's got a lot of wounds. He's got a normal save of 3+ and an invulnerable 4+, which is pretty survivable. But when he does get into close combat with those 7 attacks and a weapon skill of 2+, he is just going to throw out a lot of hits and potentially a lot of wounds. As with many World Eaters, the great tactic is just to shoot them from range with high-powered weapons and to stop them to blunt their attack before they even get into range. The difficulty is, you know, trying to stop them getting range when you've got some of these models moving 10 or 8 inches a turn. But try and take them out from distance if you can. The thing is, you're not going to have to worry about return fire too much from him. And if you had a target of either him or a unit of 10 Khorne Berserkers, always go for the 10 Khorne Berserkers, because even a unit of 10 Berserkers, that's 20 wounds, and that has a potential of having 41 attacks. So yeah, you want to be blunting the 41 attacks over the sort of 10 attacks. And also a unit of Khorne Berserkers would be about 220 points, so there is that too. That's pretty much it for my World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut review. I didn't get him for the rules, I got him because he's a cool looking model and I wanted to show you him next to a Lord Invocatus. Hopefully I can show you the new Chaos Lord for the Slaves to Darkness, and potentially maybe even the Lumineth alternative build for that steed. Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below, what you think about the World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Blood for the Blood God.